Good evening and welcome. Tonight we'll be going over the history and geography of Denmark. Denmark is a very unique place. I can't wait to tell you about it. It is located in northern mainland Europe. So think like the main chunk. It's at the top of the western half. And it's located in a region known as Scandinavia. And some of you might think, wait a second, isn't Scandinavia like Norway and Sweden, like this area up here that's covered up by my book there? And yes, it is, but it is also Denmark for historical reasons that you're going to find out in the video tonight, for multiple historical reasons. It's very different from the rest of Scandinavia in a few certain ways, though, in that one of them is that Denmark doesn't really get not nearly as much snow as the other Scandinavian countries. It's a very wet country, very rainy, very cold, but all the snow coming off the ocean hits like Norway and all that. So it's a very wet place. And not just from the rain. There's also so much water all around and in Denmark. So let's talk about that first. The largest, most recognizable part of Denmark is this big peninsula here that jets out into the North Sea. And I say that because now you'll always remember its name. It is pronounced Jutland. 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 But you can see the Jutland right there. So you'll always remember what it's called. It has, as you can see, lots of different rivers and what looks to be lakes, but they are not lakes. They're actually fjords because all the water comes in from the sea and creates many, many, many beautiful little gulfs and lots of fjords, basically. And besides this main area, there are lots and lots of islands that belong to Denmark. Technically, Denmark owns about 1,400 islands, but only about 400 or so are inhabited. The largest is Sjælland, which in American English, it's spelled Zealand, like New Zealand, or the actual Zealand, just down there in the Netherlands. But as you can see here, it's Sjælland. It's Danish is very interesting and complicated. This island, though, is home to the capital city of Copenhagen. You can see right here. And, yes, there it is. I was going to say, there's a really neat bridge called the Øresund Bridge that connects Sweden to Denmark. There's also lots of other bridges connecting the islands to. This island is called Fyn. And it's famous mostly for Odense, the city here, which is famous for Hans Christian Andersen, one of my favorite storytellers when I was a little. And you can see all the other islands down here. There's even Bornholm, you can see over here. It's in the Baltic Sea. This is Sweden right here. It's on the other side of the Swedish peninsula. And these waterways here are little sections of the North Sea that have their own names, the Kattegat and the Skagerrak there. And Denmark is not just this area. Denmark also owns Greenland and the Faroe Islands. I did a whole video about Greenland on Friday before this came out. It'll be my last video before this one. So if you want to know more about Greenland, you can check that out. But the Faroe Islands are just up about that way. And they are very green, very brightly lush islands with their own language, Faroese, and it's all very wonderful, but we're actually not going to really talk about the Faroe Islands tonight. We're mainly going to discuss mainland and the islands around the mainland of Denmark tonight. So, besides that, for geography, the only really thing to mention is that Denmark is very flat. It is flat. The highest point is like a little hill. And this is because long ago this area was covered by glaciers during the Ice Age. Completely covered. And as the Ice Age ended, the glaciers retreated up this way, up to the north. And as they did, they kind of just swiped all the land here as it went. So everything is very flat and wet and marshy. So that's pretty much it for geography of Denmark. There's lots of very huge cities as well, but yeah, we'll talk about this later, I think. Like Aarhus is the other one. Aalborg is up there, but anyway, I don't feel like reaching right now. Anyway, let's go on to history, because we're already talking about its very ancient history with the glaciers. So as those glaciers melted, people started to explore the land here and see what could be done with it. So there were peoples here during the Ice Age. They didn't really do much. They've left some archaeological things behind, but things really picked up when the Danes moved in. The ancient ancestors of the Danes today, they would have come into the area sometime between the year 1 and 400 CE. They traded with Rome. There were trade networks and roads that led to Roman territories. There's been Roman coins found in Denmark, but the most interesting archaeological find from this period in Denmark is called the Gundestrup Cauldron. Pretty sure there's a picture of it in this book. We'll look through it after history. But it was found in a peat bog, and it's thusly beautifully preserved, and there's a lot of historical mysteries about it, exactly how old it is and how it was made and everything. It's like the most important artifact to come out of Denmark. But ancient Denmark is best known for the peoples who occupied these lands between the 8th and the 10th centuries. They were very warlike and aggressive and liked fighting, and they built really good ships, so they sailed around attacking other places and taking their resources and colonizing. And they were, of course, I hope you're saying it, you should know, the Vikings. The Vikings mainly attacked what's now England and Scotland. They actually occupied a big chunk of southern England and referred to the area as Danelaw. They also went after northern France. Very famously, they sailed down the Seine and attacked Paris in a very brutally horrific siege. But they conquered the north section up there and called it Normandy, as in the Norsemen, the Normandy. And they raided all over the place. Everyone knows about Vikings, so I don't want to get too into the history of Vikings. Everyone knows the Vikings and their ships and Valhalla and Odin and Thor and everything. But Christianity came to this area in the year 965 thanks to the current king. His name was Harold Bluetooth, which, if you're thinking like the Bluetooth that you connect to, yes, it's named after him, and the little Bluetooth symbol is his little rune symbol. Isn't that neat? So Christianity took over in the area. It really encouraged people to stop going around stealing and slaughtering and all of that. So the era of the Vikings died out at that point in Denmark. And largely enough, they stayed relatively in line with the Holy Roman Empire, who were Roman Catholics, until 1536 during the Reformation, the Protestant Reformation. They switched over to Lutheranism, actually, a form of Protestantism, kind of like the purest form of Protestantism. But that's skipping ahead way too far. let's go to 1397 when the Queen of Denmark, Queen Margaret I, had a really good idea. If I ever do a series like Girl Bosses of History, Queen Margaret I would be in that series for sure. She came up with an idea to unite Denmark, Norway, and Sweden into one union, into pretty much essentially what the European Union is today. It was known as the Kalmar Union, and it was a way to trade and interact between the nations without any political mushness. And I hope that made sense, politicalness. And one of the important factors of the Kalmar Union was that all three countries would be equal, but Denmark was really running the show. And Sweden knew it, and Sweden did not like that. And they had a lot of conflicts, shall we call it, like the Kalmar War, when Denmark invaded Sweden and brutally took over Stockholm in ways I don't want to mention in a relaxation video. You can imagine, like a big old violent siege. So Sweden reclaimed their land and left the Kalmar Union in 1523. So it was just Denmark and Norway. So Denmark was beat up pretty bad in all of the conflicts between Sweden. They lost a lot of money too. So they started to establish colonies around the world, because at that point that was the thing to do if you were a European power. They went to India, Western Africa, mainly Ghana was their most profitable one. The not quite the Spice Islands, but around that area. Various little colonies. They had a little bit in the Caribbean, and they just kind of had their fingers in a lot of honeypots until they weren't as successful and profitable as other colonies, and Denmark eventually would wind up selling some of them, like the Virgin Islands used to belong to Denmark, and they sold them to the United States. But they made most of their money in, like I said, the Western African colony, which is in what's now Ghana. They were very involved in the slave trade and profited off of that greatly, unfortunately. Denmark and Sweden's wars were not over. They did not like each other, and they fought a multitude of wars throughout the 1600s and 1700s that I'm not going to get into all of them. There's too many conflicts, and not to mention the 30 Years' Wars thrown in there. They got tangled up in that with the Germans down here. Well, I didn't mention in geography they have a border with Germany. That's the only land border. So as things were getting better, getting worse, getting better, getting worse, during one of those getting better times, the king in the year 1665 created the King's Law, which established an absolute monarchy, absolute power to the king, which lasted until 1848. We'll get into that in a second. So during this time, so many wars are happening, and then Napoleon comes out of nowhere and starts his own series of wars. Denmark remained neutral during the Napoleonic Wars. They helped Britain fight the French. They helped the French fight the British. The British did not like this, and they attacked Denmark quite a few times, most notably in 1807. The British ships came and burned down most of Copenhagen. That sparked a war between Denmark and Britain called the Gunboat War. Denmark didn't do too well on that, as you can imagine. By 1813, once all of the dust of Napoleon had settled and he was off in exile in Europe to try to figure out how to get back to normal, Denmark-Norway was bankrupt. They lost everything in all of this conflict and turmoil. So they essentially sold Norway to Sweden in 1814. They signed it over, but they said, we want to keep Iceland, the Faroe Islands, and Greenland. Those are ours. And after a few other wars in Europe, mainly a big war with Prussia, where they lost a lot of territory, what's now Germany, Denmark officially declared neutrality. Like, neutrality, no more wars. Sweden did the same thing many years after that, but they said, listen, we're done fighting. All we've been doing is fighting our neighbors. We're over it. No more fighting. That's, also around the time that they ended the absolute monarchy and brought back more of a democratic government. So, World War I rolls around, Denmark is neutral. World War II sparks up, Denmark remains neutral. They sign a non-aggression treaty with the Nazi Germans in 1939, but surprise, surprise, Hitler lied, like he always did, and he invaded Denmark in 1940. And as you can imagine, it was not great. From what I can tell in my research, Denmark did not really, I don't know how to say it, they didn't really suffer as bad as like the Netherlands or France or anything. There was suffering, it was bad, but the resistance movement in Denmark managed to stay nonviolent for quite a long time, for about 2.5, 3 years. It's how kind of, not peaceful, but the Danes didn't put up a fight for quite a long time. They just kind of silently simmered. They also helped a lot of Jews escape to Sweden, so thankfully the Danish Jews did not become massive amounts of victims of the Holocaust like other countries did. But 1943, people are having enough. It winds up being a violent resistance, but very famously, the Nazis left in 1945 after losing World War II. Everything went back to normal in Denmark. Oh no, hold on, before I get to that, very important, Iceland left Denmark during World War II. They said, hey, you're occupied by Nazis, we're out. We're creating our own country. We're our own thing now. So that also happened. Okay, in 1973, Denmark was one of the founding members of the European Economic Community, which would eventually turn into the EU as of the Maastricht Treaty, signed in 1993. Denmark, however, is not part of the Eurozone. They do not use the euro as their currency. Denmark's very famous politically as being a welfare state, in that, if you're homeless, the government will provide you with a home. They'll help you find a job. They'll help you get back on your feet. If you get sick, don't worry. Free healthcare, free education, free college. They take care of their own. This has led to a lot of refugees and immigrants coming to Denmark to not just seek help and shelter, but to utilize that system, which some Danes aren't too happy about. But I mean, if you have the capacity to take in people and help them, you absolutely should in any context, I think. In my research in Denmark, this is the first country that I've researched that there's been many others where I thought, oh, I really, really, really want to go there. This is the first country where I'm like, I think I want to live here. I think Denmark and I are a good fit. I like the murky, cold weather. It's been raining all day here in the city. It just stopped about an hour ago. I love it. I think it's great. It sounds like a really great place to live, in my opinion. And those world happiness indexes, Denmark always bounces between 1 and 2, with Finland kind of trading off. I think right now they're at number 2. So Denmark is a happy place. It doesn't deal with a lot of stress and turmoil like other European countries do, but it's its own thing. Denmark is a unique place. Let's look at the book and see all of the beautiful pictures of Denmark. Don't really see a lot of landscapes and buildings anywhere else in the world like in Denmark. There's a beautiful castle. Denmark is still a kingdom. They have Queen Margrethe II as their current monarch. That's cute. A little basic architecture there. This is the famous Nyhavn neighborhood in Copenhagen. It's like the place in San Francisco. We have one called the Six Sisters, where it's 6 houses together that are just like beautiful and very San Franciscan. This is the Danish version of that. Here's a political map of Denmark. You can see all the big, okay, now I can point out big cities to you. Aalborg is up here. I need to point out Esbjerg. Even though it's not a huge city, I spent like half an hour in this place on GeoGuessr the other day. The other day, it was like a month ago. I always say the other day. Like, trying to figure out exactly where I was in this city. It took me forever to figure out the name of the city and then where it was. And then forever trying to figure out where I was in the city. Because the downtown, everything kind of looks the same. You know, they have like a standard on how homes have to look in Denmark. So there's that city as well. But you can also see Odense, Nyborg is there, Copenhagen, various others. Look at this. This looks fun. This is an elderly person's swing. So if you are rolling by and feel like having a good swing, you can have a good swing. And then you can go ice skating. And check out the beautiful fjords. This is a good example of what little fjords are like. This is on Bornholm. Just like big rocky areas with the sea between them. This is, there you go, one of the beaches between all those fjords. Here's a physical map of Denmark. Beautiful little houses. This is like a typical scenery. This is also on Bornholm. When I say there's 1,400 islands, it's because a lot of them just look like this. They're tiny with not a lot of people on them, if any. Here's the Gudana River. It's the longest river in Denmark. And fishing in the inland sea, which is this area up here. This is on the Faroe Islands, so very unique architecture and landscape there with the sod roofs and these big, massive, massive cliffs. It's a neat place. Maybe we'll go there on Google Earth one day because there's so much to explore in geography. This is Aarhus. This is Aalborg. See what I mean with the houses? They're all very, there's like a standardization to them, even though there's a uniqueness, but they all kind of have the same look about them. But it's a beautiful look, I think. A rainy day in Copenhagen. And lots and lots of wind turbines. Of course, Denmark's one of those places that's trying to swap over to green energy. And I think it was actually in this book I was reading it. I'm reading a lot of things. They produce a lot of wind-powered turbines to other countries. They produce them there. And most people don't drive cars, they ride bikes. There's a lot of bikes. A red deer, very majestic picture there. Even more so, having a beautiful horseback ride in the forest. That's lovely. Some of the national parks. This is, I think it's the Thai National Park. I'm pronouncing it like the Icelandic one because I actually, I think I know Icelandic better than Danish. That's how hard Danish is. And this is the Mølsbjerg National Park. I hope that's how you say it. Beautiful, beautiful poppies growing there. This is in the Copenhagen Zoo, the big tower there. I love this picture. Look at these helmets. They're so goofy. I love that. Neat little drawing here of how people used to survive hunting and fishing. And some Viking ships here. This is in the Viking Museum, the Viking Ship Museum in Roskilde. A map of the Viking expansions. There's Denmark, and you can see just how far they spread out sticking to the watery places, but having some interesting inland adventures and out here adventures as well, including Canada. This is a rune stone where this tells a story of some kind. I think most rune stones are indecipherable, but this was erected by Harold Bluetooth, it says here. Oh, it says this is Jesus. How interesting. The Church of Our Lady, a very huge church in Copenhagen. Here's a map of the Kalmar Union. Everything purple. See, that's how big Denmark used to be. Everything purple was the Kalmar Union. Let's see, this is in the 30 Years' War. The King of Denmark fought in that. And didn't do too well, as you can see. Little overseas colony here. I think this is supposed to be the Virgin Islands. Let's see. Copenhagen, it says. Gathering to see a speech by Frederick III. And this is another view of Copenhagen when the British basically firebombed it. Burned most of it to the ground. It's a charming... See, now, when I think of, like, Denmark countryside, I think of images like this, like, warm and cozy, all hygge with the family together. They're having school time together. Isn't that neat? Now, this, I think, is really cool. This was King Christian X during World War II. When the Germans occupied it, he went out every day on his horse and just talked to people. I like that. Some Germans coming through into Copenhagen. And some Jews being shipped out literally from Denmark to safety. Oh, this is from a protest of... I'm trying to like summarize it over here. An offensive cartoonist made... No, let me try that again. A cartoonist made an offensive drawing of the Prophet Muhammad. People were obviously not happy about that. And these are some immigrants coming in very excitedly to Denmark. There's a big old Danish flag. And here it is. Let's read about it. I was about to like talk about it, but then I remembered this is on the next page, so I don't have to tell you the story on how the flag came to be. I can just read it to you. Denmark's flag has an ancient design with legendary origins. Long ago, Danish soldiers fought a war with the eastern state of Estonia. Before entering battle, the warriors prayed to God for a Danish victory. Before one particular battle, legend has it that a flag suddenly fell from the sky. The soldiers raised the flag, marched beneath it, and triumphed over the Estonians. That flag, with few changes, has been Denmark's banner ever since. The current flag first appeared on a seal in 1397. The flag is red with a white cross on it, representing Christianity. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's any big flag nerds out there, I think this is the oldest unchanged flag for a nation. I'm pretty sure. It's an old one. Election day is happening down here at the polls. The Parliament building. Let me pencil out the way so it doesn't go careening off the desk. The Parliament building, Supreme Court, and Prime Minister's office are all in this palace, it says. Here's a daycare having a day out, which is always fun when you're watching littles to rally them all up. I wish we had these big strollers here, big old push carts. I'm so used to making chains and having all the kids hold hands and walk in a little ant line, ants are marching one by one. But this would be a lot easier than doing answer marching. This is Nuuk, the capital city of Greenland. Also has its own very distinct and gorgeous architecture. Let's look at Copenhagen. There's the skyline there. This is the Tivoli Gardens, one of, if not the oldest amusement parks. It reminds me a lot of like Coney Island. It's one of those kind. Big hero here. And a map of Copenhagen. And the Little Mermaid statue is like the most famous statue. I remember learning about it when I was little and being like, I want to go to Copenhagen. I want to go to Denmark. And that's when I kind of loved Denmark. Now check out this beautiful city here with all the people out here. And, oh gosh, what is this? Oh no, a giant. A monster. A kaiju is coming. Oh no. This is a Lego town. You see the Lego people? Legos were invented in Denmark. Isn't that cool? The first Lego lands in Denmark and everything. A resources map. You can see lots of like grains being grown, and of course animals and things like that, and fish. And sadly, mink farming too. Look at that poor mink being like, please don't kill me for my fur. But that's a trade that happens. A furniture store here making some cool looking chairs. And let's see, oh, they're producing insulin. It's a lot of pharmaceuticals made in Denmark. And this is on an oil rig. They do have some oil drilling in Denmark as well. Here's their currency, the krona. Here's the Oresund Bridge. Very, like, magical looking picture. Looks like it's floating. And more bicyclists here, enjoying the beautiful scenery. And a busy, busy day here in Copenhagen. This is not a Lego town. This is actual Copenhagen. Population map. You can see pretty much most of the population lives over here in the capital, but it looks like it has like chickenpox. All the little smatterings of people. And some Greenlanders, it says. I think that's where they're from, but this box talks about the Faroese and the Greenlanders. And let's see, some kind of parade from a different culture. Kind of like represents all of the different cultures that are celebrated. This looks like a carnival parade of some kind. And here are some people being sworn in as Danish citizens. Very excited. And on the other end of that, refugees coming into the country, fleeing unimaginable things, and hopefully getting the care and protection and love that they need. And these people are protesting people who don't believe in giving people who need homes and love and unconditional care to people. It's an anti-nationalist protest. An example of Danish and how I've been struggling with it. The gorgeous church here. This is in Zeeland. I still can't get it. And this is also in Copenhagen. Isn't that gorgeous? I love the details. The tomb of the monarchs in Roskilde Cathedral. And this talks about how the Lutheran Church has actually like a lot of female-led pastors and bishops and things. And this is at a very fancy baptism. Let me see. Oh, because it's a member of the royal family, that's why. And men at their mosque praying, since of course there says a lot of Pakistani immigrants there. Denmark's patron saint, King Canute IV, believed in the church, and they said, haha, no. And then they did a reverse Uno card and were like, actually, I think he was right. Celebrating Easter. I know my family that I grew up in that I wasn't really a part of were Lutherans, so Easter and Christmas Day or Christmas Eve But most of the stuff is done. Like Christmas Eve is like the holy day, and Christmas Day is like the fun day. But Easter is all of those combined. It's an important day. So in Denmark, they also have a holiday. I guess in English it's called Shrovetide. Thankfully, it doesn't have the Danish word for it. Where it's kind of like Halloween, where it looks like this kid's dressed up as Andy Warhol or something. And they have these Danish versions of piñatas that are filled with candy and treats, and you whack it to get all the stuff out. And beautiful, beautiful Easter eggs as well. And a Halloween parade. I love this picture. This is great. Look at this. A very, like, Christmassy picture, right? And, oh, no peeking. If you know your mythology, you know who this is, just by looking at his face. You can tell it's Odin, because Odin gave up one of his eyes to achieve, like, supreme knowledge. And, hold on. There we go. And that's his wife, Freya. This wonderful statue here of Hans Christian Andersen. Here's Soren Kierkegaard, philosopher. And Karen Blixen, who wrote the book Out of Africa, and Meryl Streep played her in the movie. As you can tell, it's a great casting choice. Come on. Come on. There we go. Great sounds, but I do need to turn the page. This is Piet Hein, I believe, a very famous poet who wrote a lot of poems about Denmark. Gorgeous church here as well. So many gorgeous churches in Denmark. Here it is, the Gundestrup Cauldron. A very ominous picture of it here, but a very interesting thing. And porcelain painting. I feel like there's a word for this style of painting. Does it say it in here? It doesn't. But very distinct to Denmark. And this painting is by Christopher Wilhelm Eckersberg, who painted families. Because there was no... well, here in America, you go to JCPenney's to get your family portraits done. An art museum. The big collection by King Frederick V. A Clint furniture design. Very Scandinavian. A very modern church. Also very beautiful. And gorgeous public art as well. This super cool statue. They're playing lures, I think that's how it said. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Carl Nielsen, famous composer. A Swedes out on the kayak here, enjoying the beautiful day. Oh my, isn't that not fantastic? This is a Kransekagu, I think. Big old fantastic wedding cake, where it looks like they just bake the cake and just stack it, which, I mean, perfect. These people are going to a battle reenactment. You can tell that they're Germans, right? Yep, German military vehicle. It's funny, I didn't know how many other countries did war reenactments, because here in the US, it's like, we love historical reenactments. New Year's Eve here in Copenhagen. Working hard in school. And let's see, this is another famous philosopher who really fought for the form of public education that we have today. Some very tasty food. Kind of looks like squid or octopus or some kind. It looks yummy. And she thinks so too, looking at all this delicious bread. Yum, yum, yum. And you can make some sweet bread yourself. There's a little recipe there. Playing some soccer. And let's see, they're watching the Danish team playing at the World Cup. This is in Tivoli Gardens, the little paddle boats. And they're playing chain tag, which sounds like a lot of fun. You tag someone, they have to hold your hand. You all have to tag until there's one person left. Fun. And that's the end of our book. So that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'll have a whispered video for you tomorrow about Denmark. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a very good